Hey now, welcome back to the 3 and Out Fantasy Football Podcast, where there's more injuries and even more injury replacements to discuss for yet another weekend of fantasy football. I'm your host, Wayne Cavati, and joining me as always is FanDuel Fee, Chris Fiamano, and Mr. Dutton, Mike Dutton. How are you, gentlemen? Fee, how are you?
Good. I did well this week in fantasy, so I'm happy about that. If the Giants could just secure a yard, I'd be even happier.
Well, you want to know what the other thing is? Just to throw this out there, if that timing at the end of the first half, if they had gotten that field goal, they could have got the field goal and won 15-14. There was a whole bunch of, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, horribleness.
Yes.
If that's a word. If you can
fantasy
say that. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm here. And, at least you didn't embarrass yourself in the greatest uniforms of all time by looking like the 1976 Tampa Bay Buccaneers when you played on Sunday. So there you have that. So
is that the
creamsicles?
Is the opposite of undefeated the very defeated Buccaneers?
That was the defeated Buccaneers that went 0-14, I think. It was only a 14-game season back then.
The defeated.
But don't worry, because Fiamano's favorite quarterback, Baker Mayfield, is going to come back this week. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, he's not my favorite. Come on.
Hey, you have a man crush on him for some unknown reason. Anyway, let's move on to this week's Buy It or BS. Ladies and gentlemen, we already said it. There's more injuries. Earlier this year, we talked about how Kyren Williams may be the it thing. Well, now he's the IR thing, not necessarily the IR, but he is out this week. What do we think about the running back situation in Los Angeles? Dutton, we'll start with you. Buy it or BS? The current Rams running back situation is one to stay clear of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, buy it. Like, put all your money down on that one because, like, who's running the ball this weekend? Do you know? I'm asking you a serious question. Like, who is running the ball this weekend for the Rams? Like, I will look it up while Fee is answering.
One of like 3 people.
Because I don't even know who's going to be holding the ball when Matthew Stafford turns around to hand it to a person. So yes, avoid the Rams running back situation.
Fee.
Yeah, I buy it. I agree with that. It's likely Zach Evans, but it also could be Darrell Henderson, or it also could be some other guy.
Darrell Henderson's still in the league?
Yeah, believe it or not.
And then Royce Freeman.
Royce Freeman, that's it.
Of a former Buccaneer.
Right. Did you see my face?
It's likely Zach Evans, but you should just steer clear of the running back situation because the Rams may just throw the ball all game long. Like
don't forget Myles Gaskin. They got him too.
They signed Myles Gaskin too.
He's the fourth. He's the fourth running back on their roster chart right now.
Good Lord.
Yeah, just sign anybody. I heard they're going to go after Joe Morris. Remember him?
Maybe.
I remember him.
Little Joe. The thing is last week we sat here on this show and talked about Amari DiMarcado as the waiver wire to pick up, and he got 2 touches last week. We're going to sit here and tell everyone to go pick up Zach Evans, and all of a sudden Royce Freeman's going to go off for 35 carries.
I am not telling you to pick up Zach Evans.
I'm telling you to stay away from the Rams running backs.
Stay clear. We all agree that that's just a situation to stay clear of until Kyren Williams gets back. But Kyren Williams has proved to us how valuable he actually did become. So everything you guys were saying at the beginning of the season proves to be true right now. Moving on, talking about running backs. This one is a good one. Fee, we'll start with you this time. Buy it or BS, the Jaguars have finally figured out how to use Travis Etienne, and he's going to finish among the elite running backs this fantasy football season.
Yeah, I'm buying it because Travis Etienne right now is like the second or third best running back in fantasy currently. And I don't see that changing at all with all the injuries and all the talk at the beginning of the season about how Tank Bigsby was going to, take carries from him and that, he might end up taking over that backfield. Travis Etienne is having none of that. And he's become a focal point of that offense. And a good thing too, because with Trevor Lawrence now banged up, they're going to need him to step it up. But Travis Etienne has been fantastic. If you drafted him probably in like the 3rd round ish, you're ecstatic with how he's performed for you so far.
I think he might have been even going a little later than the 3rd round, to be honest with you. Dutton, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I buy it. The biggest thing that Fiamano said is he's healthy, right? So he's a running back that's productive and he's healthy. And right now, if that's something you have on your fantasy team, you're happy because, as we just talked about earlier, healthy running backs are hard to come by right now, let alone healthy, good running backs.
Yeah.
So absolutely buy it. And yeah, he's the focal point of the offense. He's going to be the reason that if they make the playoffs, it's going to be because of him. So
Yeah. And look, the thing was last year, if he did exactly what he did last year, he would have been a solid RB2. But remember, Trevor Lawrence was taking all the 1-yard touchdowns, and they weren't letting this guy get in the end zone. This year, now 4 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. It seems like, yeah, this guy is elite. This is a guy you want. Unlike Josh Allen, not that kind of elite. Moving on. Last week, my start of the week showed up for the second week in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, with the quarterback play in the NFL right now, Fee, we'll go to you. Buy it or BS, Desmond Ridder won't win real football games. But with these back-to-back fantasy weeks, is he now a reliable fantasy football starter? Fee, buy it or BS, he is.
I'm gonna say BS. I originally put maybe, but I don't think he is a top 12 starter, right? I feel like there's 12 quarterbacks that are probably you're starting over him. And so while he may be reliable in that he'll get you 15 to 20 points every week, I still think there's 12 quarterbacks that you want to start ahead of him.
Is Dak one of them?
Oh,
yes, Dak's one of them. He
yikes.
is.
I don't know that
only because of the team around him.
Right. That's why. Because Dak could throw 170 yards to what's his face? I just
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Thank you. Yeah, and 2 of those could be touchdowns, and you're fine right there. And if he throws another 50 yards, you're at 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now he could throw an interception or 2, but you're going to take that. I don't know if you're going to get that every week from Desmond Ridder. So that's why I said BS too. I just don't I think he's a matchup guy.
Your own answer, by the way, right there, Doug.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I think he's a pay attention to plug and play guy, maybe. If you are looking and you're like, oh man, my backup's hurt, my starter's on a bye, and Desmond Ridder's playing against the Panthers defense this weekend. Yeah, you might want to play him, right? But I really think it's that kind of situation. I don't think you're going out and getting him to be your every week starter.
That's fair. I'll agree with that. Let's talk about something. This is not a buy it or BS. This is just a side note that longtime listener Saucy T brought up to our attention on my Atlanta Falcons little text thread. He said that Arthur Smith gave an interview this week and was asked about Bijan Robinson's use. And Arthur Smith, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, who drafted him in the top 10 picks, said, you got to be careful and take it easy. I'm paraphrasing. So I have 2 questions. Is Arthur Smith sane? And 2, why the heck are you drafting the best running back in the draft if you got to be careful and not use him in his prime years? Either one of you chime in.
I'll go first. Yeah, okay. I'll go ahead, Fee. Go ahead. You're good.
No, you go. You go.
Okay. Because, maybe is that code for, we're opening up the garage and letting Bijan loose the rest of the season? Or is that oh, wow, I drafted a really good running back, but didn't realize how bad the rest of my team was. And now I'm stuck with this guy who's really good, but I can't do much with him. So I'm protecting him until I have a better team. I don't know what that means.
So a third question, I guess, to that is, do you think this is coming from Arthur Smith, or do you think this is coming from the front office? Hey, don't get our cash cow hurt.
That's what I'm wondering.
Because Arthur Smith doesn't deserve because he's getting ridiculed for saying it. Believe
right. Right. I'm sure he is down there.
So that's exactly what I was going to say. Look around the league and look at all the injuries that are happening to all these running backs. Okay. And so it's a double-edged sword because for him, he doesn't want to get his star running back hurt because every other running back is hurt, it seems like. So he probably doesn't want to put that type of load on him. However, you drafted him in the first round. He's clearly the best running back in the class, and he's probably a top 5 running back in the NFL currently. especially with all the injuries that are happening. So you have to use him more than what they are. Now, they also had Tyler Algier, who ran for over 1,000 yards last year. And so maybe he thinks, well, we can do, that two-headed backfield and try to run it that way. But that doesn't seem to be working very well for them. Algier hasn't really done much this year. And so I think,
not since his first or second game. No, he had that one really good game, and then he's been quiet since then.
Right. And so I think because of that, you kind of have to put away the injury concerns and use your best running back if you really want to field the best team that you can, and use him more often, like we all hoped and wished that he would.
Yeah.
I think the follow-up question to said Coach Smith there is, hey, Coach, do you want to win games?
All right. Maybe that's it. That's the plan. Maybe the plan is not to win games, because then that's a great way to do it. But the same guy, Tim Saucy T, that we call him, that brought it up, said it best. He goes, hey, I just bought a new $300 winter coat. Oh, look, it's snowing. I don't want it to get ruined. I'm going to wear the one I bought at Walmart for $10.
Right.
That's what the Falcons are doing right now.
Great example,
And I'm
Saucy
like,
T.
that's what they're doing. Let's move on and buy it or BS. Earlier this week, there were multiple reports that the NFL is discussing having a Super Bowl in London. Dutton, buy it or BS, the NFL are a bunch of assholes for just having this conversation at all.
I'm buying it. It's dumb. It's sports imperialism. Why are we inflicting our biggest sporting event on other continents? I mean, the English Premier League is not calling up the United States and saying, hey, can we play our finals anywhere? No, the Super Bowl's here. It's an American game. Like, that's it. Like, you're not world champions. You're Super Bowl champions. We don't need to play it somewhere else. And you're not going to get, you're going to get some fans who have money, but the Super Bowl's already super expensive. And now you got to get an international flight. Forget it. No, it's dumb.
Yeah, I agree with everything Dutton said. I mean, it's, I don't really have much else to say other than, everyone that wants to watch the Super Bowl is here in the United States. Yep. So why would you all of a sudden push that somewhere where it's really hard to get to for most of the people, that actually want to watch the game, and you're alienating basically your main fan base.
And kickoff would be like 3:00 here, right?
Right. Which, why don't you just do that and put the Super Bowl here in America and have the kickoff at 3:00? We'd be fine with it.
But here's where I don't even get where the NFL owners are honoring. NFL owners are using taxpayers' monies to build these billion-dollar stadiums to host. Do you know how much money a city makes for the week of the Super Bowl, and you're willing to give that to another country?
Right.
But the NFL would still make their dime. Don't worry about that.
No, don't worry.
Like
yeah.
LA, Atlanta, Miami, these traditional Super Bowl cities are losing a week that they've built these fancy stadiums and built everything up for to try to get the Super Bowl, and now it's going to go to London. Like
we're trying to get the day off after the Super Bowl for years, and now we have to worry about international flights.
All right,
yeah, you don't have to worry about it because it's never going to happen.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
The fact that it was proposed. I mean, I don't understand why there are as many games in London and Germany and everywhere there are.
Right.
Sure. Why we have 7,500 games across seas? Anyway, good job on Buy It or BS. You both win yet another week. Let's move on to locks of the week. Last week we hit once again. We are on fire this season. But that brings us to 5-1. I did lose going with the Colts, and I just wanted to bring that up. I want to take accountability. B, I did everything I tell you not to do, and I took the away team in a divisional matchup, but they were getting the points, and it was and I thought it would work, but Minshew Mania didn't come through. So let's just get to this week's locks of the week. Fee, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I only lost by a half a point, by the way, on a 57-yard field goal too last week.
Yeah, so. That's right. I have that in my notes actually right here in my side notes. Everything you said on the show about that game was right, except the half a point that didn't cover. You said Kansas City isn't blowing people out. They're not scoring tons of points. Denver's going to sneak backdoor. And everything you said was true, except the half a point. I actually have that right here in my notes. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So this week, I'm taking the Eagles -1.5. coming off a bad loss. They're at home, and what they do best is they get defensive line pressure. And that's what they're going to do this week playing against Miami. Miami's not going to really necessarily be able to run the ball the way that they are used to running the ball. Yes, they have, amazing wide receivers and the passing game is insane, but the Eagles are getting a lot of guys back from injury as well. Most of that secondary is coming back. I just think that this is a good spot for the Eagles, minus 1.5 at home.
Dutton.
I'm taking the Raiders -3 against the Bears because I'm going to say 2 words to you. Tyson Bagent.
It's Bagent.
Right now. Bagent, sorry.
I see you said, who is that? So, gentlemen, have a little seat. Let me tell you. Tyson Bagent is the all-time passing leader in Division II football history. He went to Redford University and is one of the first esteemed members, guests, I should say, on the D2 Nation podcast, hosted by yours truly. And I've interviewed him multiple times. Not only that, his father is the great arm wrestling United States arm wrestling champion, a multi-time arm wrestling champion. So athleticism is flowing through this guy. He took the Shepherd Rams to the semifinals twice. Look, since you guys know, I've covered D2 football for just about a decade now. There's never been a quarterback that's played a snap since I've covered it. Just the fact that he got in the game last week and scored a touchdown, it was like huge for D2 football. If he starts a game, like he could lose by 30, but what that start means to D2 football is like, I'm all about the Bears this week. I am a Bears fan. I'm starting him in my dynasty league because I'm trying to tank anyway. And yeah, I'm on the Bears train this week.
Okay, so Wayne answered my question, and all of that means I'm taking the Raiders.
And this time I'm going Thursday night football, and I know Trevor Lawrence is hurt. Is he definitely out, or is he going to play?
Game time decision at this point.
Yeah, I saw an update, and it was him taking snaps at practice. Yeah, and they're like, look, Trevor Lawrence is like taking snaps. But when you look at the video, he never bends his knee. He barely moves. He takes the snap and like takes a hop back, and his front leg with the knee brace doesn't actually bend, and he throws the ball, and it doesn't look anything like he can actually move.
Officially listed as questionable.
Honestly, I would be shocked if he played.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh, he's practicing, but like it didn't look great.
See, so I appreciate you saying that, because I saw you practice and I couldn't understand how the Jaguars are getting a point even on the road against the Saints team that just got pretty much owned by the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I'm going to punt, and I'm going to tell you that I think the Lions are getting 3 points on the road to the Ravens, and I think that's my pick of the week. Yes, we love the Lions on this show, so yes, but this defense, this is not the Lions defense of old. And
no, I'm only worried, Wayne, to be honest with you. I had the Lions until 5 minutes before we came on, and it's only because I'm worried about their running back situation.
That's a fair situation.
Yes,
but I think everyone has their dings and their nicks and their bangs up. And here's the thing, man. I have Lamar Jackson in one of my leagues, so I watched the Ravens, and they're not picking up. They don't have the right pieces for their offensive scheme. This offense is not good. They're capitalizing on teams that are somewhat decent or have some major injury problems, and they're barely winning games. And I think the Lions are like, I think we're talking about like the 1, 2, or 3. Well, not one. But, they're battling for the second or third best team in the NFC right now. So
there's people all week that would tell you that they're the number 1 team in the NFC right now.
It's very possible because of that.
A bunch of people arguing.
Did you say that the Lions are getting 3?
The Lions are getting 3 points, right, Dutton? You saw the same thing.
Yes, the Ravens are -3 favorites.
How is that possible?
Because it's in Baltimore. So
we all know that the Lions are a better team than them.
Yeah, but the home team usually gets 3 points, right? So there it is.
So they're saying they're the same team? They're saying they're equal.
They're equal, except the Ravens
are equal.
That's
right. Because they're playing in Baltimore, they're equals what they're saying, right?
Right, but I don't necessarily agree with that, I think.
I don't either. That's
Well,
why.
yeah, that's why he's picking the Lions. So
Gotcha.
are we picking the Lions? Let's pick the Lions.
I mean, we could go the Eagles. The Eagles seem like I agree with Fee's assessment that they're angry, but I mean, this is our podcast. I'm okay going the Lions if we all want to go Lions.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go Lions.
All right, let's go Lions.
It's fun to root for the Lions, right? Teddy Ballgame, longtime listener, Teddy Ballgame, Lions fan. Let's move on to FanDuel Fee's stacks of the week. FanDuel Fee. Speaking of Teddy Ballgame, I played Teddy Ballgame head to head with the Joe Burrow stack, and I lost by 2.3 points.
Oh,
So upset.
yeah. I didn't do very well last week in giving the stacks of the week on this podcast. However, because I don't usually play my own plays, I actually did fairly well in FanDuel.
Right.
But this week I'm going to try and do better. So
That's a good idea.
This week, with all the injuries and all the bye weeks, it's an interesting week. But I think there's some good spots for some good players here, and I'm going to start everyone off with the Eagles. Jalen Hurts. I love the stack of Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert against Miami. Hurts is 8,700, AJ Brown is 8,200, Dallas Goedert 6,200. And you can really come back with almost anyone on that Miami team. But probably you're going to want either Tyreek Hill or even Jalen Waddle. Because again, with that whole running game and I spoke about it a little earlier, with that Eagles defensive front, it might be tough sledding for the Miami running game. So they may have to throw the ball. So, but I really like Hurts and AJ Brown and Dallas Goedert this week. Stack number 2, I like Matthew Stafford at 7,300. Again, he's still too cheap. And pairing him up with Cooper Kupp again at 8,700. He's one of the higher priced receivers this week, but it's worth it because we all know and see what's going on with him, with Kupp and Stafford. And they're playing Pittsburgh, who's just awful. They're awful. And, Stafford and Kupp are going to get theirs. And why not, use those guys, especially with how cheap Stafford is.
Yep.
One other one I wanted to point out was San Francisco. Brock Purdy is only 7,200. Yes, CMC is out. Yes, Deebo Samuel's out, but that concentrates their offense big time. They're playing Minnesota, whose defense is not good. I talked about it last week, how George Kittle had a block most of the time, and he did, turned out last week, but he's not going to have to do that this week. And which is good, because with all the guys that they have out, they're going to need him to go out and catch the ball and run pass routes. So I like Purdy and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle stack. I think that would be a great stack. Kittle's only 5,900, so he's pretty cheap. Ayuk is 7,700 and Purdy's only 7,200. It's an interesting kind of contrarian stack. You can bring it back with, KJ Osborne or that other Minnesota guy. Who's the other receiver over there? Help. Anybody?
Addison, is that who you're talking about?
Addison.
Yes, Addison. Right. So you could come back with either one of those guys. Yes, San Francisco's defense is really good, and they're not the one with the injuries. So Kirk Cousins could have a really bad day. But I do like the other side of that ball with San Francisco's offense. I think it's a great contrarian stack to go with those guys. A couple of one-offs that there's another stack that I want to mention because I threw both of these guys in there. But Sam Howell at 7K against the Giants, and Curtis Samuel, who's been fantastic and consistent all year long, only at 6,200 against that Giants defense. That would be a fantastic stack too. I really like Curtis Samuel as a one-off. If you don't want to go with Howell, if you wanted to go with one of these other stacks, I really like Curtis Samuel as a fill-in right there in your lineups. And I also like DK Metcalf. He's at 7,500 this week.
Nice. I think it's time that I have to buy into the Stafford stack and just go for it.
That's what I came in first in my FanDuel league with. I used Stafford and Kupp last week.
Lineup, and I said, you're not picking any of your own players. Let's move on. Last week, we absolutely dominated starts and sits. We got 3 of the 4 starts right, 3 of the 4 sits right. I hit my Desmond Ritter Drake London stack that I told you about, and that's what I placed in the Million Maker with. I couldn't believe I placed with that. And I had Kyle Pitts in that one, and Kyle Pitts was a serviceable fantasy tight end last week. So let's move on and just get right to starts. Dutton, we'll start with you because Fiamano kind of just talked about it.
Yeah, I'm starting Sam Howell against the Giants. Fiamano talked about it. I don't think the Giants can repeat what they did last week. I don't think their defense is consistent enough to do that. And Sam Howell's been playing well. He rips the ball around there. So.
He sure does. He's not good, but he gets the ball in his receiver.
He's fantasy good.
Right.
He is fantasy good.
100% agree.
Right.
Go, Fee, go ahead.
So again, with all the injuries and all the bye weeks, you're gonna have to dig deep. And I'm digging deep, and I'm going with Josh Dobbs against the Seattle Seahawks this week. Don't have an explanation for
it. I love it.
I love it.
I'm gonna go with one. I haven't looked. I never look at any other site before we go on the air, but I have a feeling you're gonna see him show up in a lot of sits this week, and that's because if you look at fantasy football stats, the Ravens are number 1 against quarterbacks this year in letting points up. But I'm telling you to start Jared Goff, and here's why. I'm not scared of the Ravens, okay? First of all, Dutton, you mentioned it. The Lions' backfield is messed up, is dinged up, so he's going to be throwing. Let's look at the last 4 teams the Ravens have played.
Thank you. That's the answer right there.
Gardner Minshew, Thompson Robinson, who lost his job in 1 week to PJ Walker, who has been cut by 8 NFL teams and 1 XFL team. Okay. And then Kenny Pickett, and then the combo of the dangerous Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. So, yes, they do have the number 1 pass defense against quarterbacks in fantasy football this year. And no, they haven't faced anyone close to what Jared Goff is doing. I'm telling you to start Jared Goff. Who do we want to lock in?
I love that. Yeah, let's go Goff. I love that. That's amazing.
Let's move on to running back. Fee. We'll go to you because that was going to actually be my pick.
Mine too.
Yeah. All right. I'm starting Kenny Walker III against the Arizona Cardinals. They just gave up 158 yards and a touchdown to Kyren Williams and the St. Louis Rams. St. Louis.
That was a long time ago.
Los Angeles Rams. Wow. So yeah, Kenny Walker III.
Fee, I like what you put here. Can we agree to call him KW3 for the rest of the year?
I like it.
Q3. Dutton, go ahead.
Bijan Robinson against the Bucks, because you can't make that statement and then not give the ball to your guy, right? I mean,
or you can. It is Atlanta. I mean, come on now. Josh Jacobs has to get right, and the Bears are a good team to do that against. So I just think, and I think we're at the point where Josh Jacobs, who got paid tons of money, you have to be told whether to start or sit him. I just think we're at that point with him, and I think you start him this week.
Can I just say, wait, before we decide, can I just say, yeah, you just said that, it's Atlanta, they totally could do that. I love that the whole chargering is a thing. I love that. I love that. The chargering. I love that that's a thing.
It is a thing.
So we're going to start. KW3 is our lock.
Yeah, I mean, if we all were going to put him, that's who we're putting. So.
Yep.
Fee, you're going to love my next pick. You're going to disagree with it, and I'm going deep because if you look, there's the Panthers, the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Jets, and the Titans. And there's a bunch of wide receivers on bye this week. So I dug. Okay. Yeah. The gentleman I dug is averaging 7 targets a game the past week. And no, he has not had a receiving touchdown in any of those games. But he is playing against the Commanders, who have allowed a touchdown to just about everyone. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you to start Wan'Dale Robinson this week, and he's getting in the end zone. There you have it. Dutton, who do you got?
Jacoby Myers against the Bears.
Love
it's a get-right game for the Raiders. That guy's on fire this year.
He is. Fee.
He is on fire. I actually kind of like Wan'Dale Robinson. He, like you said, he's getting 7 targets a game. I mean, he's the volume's there. Regression could be coming if the Giants haven't scored a touchdown in 2 games.
I know, but it's
like I think it's been like 10 quarters. They're almost as bad as the Patriots. Almost.
Drake London just had 108 yards against the Commanders. They ain't stopping nobody.
That's fair. I hope the Giants can get in the end zone at some point this season. I hope it's this week. I am starting Brandon Ayuk against the Vikings. No Debo, no CMC. He's the man. I also put down, I really love Curtis Samuel because I talked about him earlier, and I think that's a great pick too.
I love Ayuk and Myers. I mean, I do think Robinson's gonna have a good week. I'll let you guys pick between Ayuk and Myers. Who do you want to lock in? I mean, Myers is on absolute fire, and the Bears.
Right.
Yeah,
Of
the
those
Bears are
two-
bad. I'll go with Myers.
Okay. I was gonna, yeah. All right, that's fine.
Tight end, Dutton, go ahead.
Luke Musgrave against the Broncos because this is Jordan Love's get right game. And why not get right against the poorest defense?
Yeah. Fee, we have a pattern here, gentlemen.
I was gonna say I wanted to take Luke Musgrave also, and it seems like you did too, Wayne.
I just gave up because you go ahead. I'll get when we get to mine. Go ahead.
All right. So I wanted to take Musgrave also, but yeah, again, it's a tough week this week for tight ends. But I like Michael Mayer this week, going up against the Bears. Just talked about the Raiders, but he had 3 catches 2 weeks ago and 6 catches this past week. I think that they're getting him a lot more involved, and yeah, he's racking up targets. So start Michael Mayer.
Yeah, I kept looking and looking because Dutton had Musgrave first, and we're at the point where like the top 6 tight ends, of course you're starting him. It sounds stupid to say this.
Right.
So I just don't have anyone else because I think Musgrave is the pick this week. I really like him there.
Yep.
So to review real quick, our 3 and out starts of the week are Goff, KW3, Kenneth Walker III, KW3, Jacoby, the law firm of Jacoby and Myers, and Luke Musgrave. Let's move on to sits. Dutton, we'll go back to you and start.
I'm sitting Lamar Jackson against the Lions because I think that defensive line is going to give him a run for his money this week, and I don't think he's going to have Lamar type numbers.
I don't think he's had Lamar type numbers all year because that
right.
isn't. Why would you go and get the offensive coordinator that needs a drop back quarterback and sign Lamar Jackson $1 million? It doesn't make sense. It's not going to work. You don't have the wet, and then you have 3 wide receivers that can't catch a beach ball.
Right.
What Dutton used to say, catch a paper bag blowing down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
I'm going to sit Trevor Lawrence this week. We spoke about it earlier.
Probably a good move.
He's hurt. If he plays, you got to sit him. If he doesn't play, you're obviously not going to play him. But I don't think he's going to play, but I think you need to sit him one way or another.
I'm going to tell you to sit Kirk Cousins because the NFL is going to quickly learn when you don't have Justin Jefferson to throw to, your true colors are quickly revealed. And who did they play last week? I'm just blanking.
The Vikings.
Was it the Panthers?
No, was it?
Well, whoever was, Cousins had 180 yards and a touchdown, and so he's not going to be getting his crazy numbers anymore.
He also had his receivers dropped 8 balls or something like that.
He played the Bears last week.
Oh yeah, the Bears.
And his receivers are giving him no help at all.
Right. And they got a defensive touchdown in that game.
Yeah, they did. That's how they won. Poor Tyson.
Right. All right, let's sit Kirk Cousins. Sit down, Kirk.
I'm actually, if you want to go bold, because I feel like everyone has to start him, I'm willing to go Lamar here. If you want to go bold, you want to stick Cousins.
No, let's stick Cousins.
Yeah,
I think people are starting Cousins too.
So. Yeah, that's fair. Fee, go ahead on running back.
I'm sitting Gus Edwards just to stick with the Baltimore Raven theme. Playing the Lions. The Lions have a top 5 defense against the run this year. Sit Gus Edwards. And by the way, I mean Gus Edwards has been pretty bad all year long anyway. So
Jonathan Taylor against the best defense in football, Cleveland Browns.
I didn't buy it last week when you said that, and still to be fair, the weather was terrible and they lost CMC and Debo played 2 snaps,
right?
But that defense did cause, even if those guys were there, I think the 49ers win that game, but that defense caused trouble.
That defense causes havoc. They're good.
To be fair, the Niners should have won that game if
they missed 2 field goals.
Doesn't miss the field goal. So
he missed 2. He missed 2.
Let's move on to Rachaad White is my sit, and the Falcons have not allowed a rushing touchdown, and Rachaad White hasn't looked like an NFL running back in several weeks. So I just don't. I think I think we're at the point where we call it the Rachaad White running back sit of the week because
I'm with you because
drafted
there's
him
no
to
point
start.
in playing him because the Bucks can't run the ball.
Yeah.
That
And
offensive
yes,
line
they're
was
really
built to
good
protect
position,
for
but
Tom Brady to throw, and
Yeah.
that's what we're doing.
yeah.
Did you guys see the picture of the San Francisco kicker with his family before the game? He had like his whole family at the game.
Yeah, I saw this family. They kept showing his parents in the stands or something.
Yeah,
Poor
and
guy.
then
And
he
he
misses
choked.
then he misses 2 field goals.
Choked.
So we want to sit Rachaad White. That's the
Yes.
consensus pick. Okay, I'll go to the running backs, and it's the same theme that Dutton just brought up, but I'm sold on that Browns defense, and I'm sitting Michael Pittman. Fee.
Yeah, I'm sitting Michael Pittman too.
Wow. I'm sitting AJ Brown this week, and I'll tell you why. I know it sounds weird. However, I feel like somebody's going to get into Jalen Hurts' head and say, hey, Jalen, you're only throwing the ball to AJ Brown, and it might be time to spread out the offense. Just be wary of that. I feel like something's going on with the Eagles. And like AJ Brown was complaining about not getting the ball, then that's the only person that Jalen throws to now. So I think this is a week where he backs off of that a little bit.
Well, let's not forget FanDuel Fee's all-time favorite player, Julio Jones, is now an Eagles wide receiver, clearly there to take all the targets.
Exactly. We're sitting Pittman, obviously, because 2 out of 3 wanted to.
Michael Pittman.
Right.
Tight end, Dutton, we'll start with you.
Logan Thomas, the Giants linebackers did well against the Bucks tight ends, and they're better than the Commanders tight ends.
Yep. Fee.
Or the Bills, I mean, Bills tight ends.
Right.
Bills.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Bills.
Fee.
Yeah, I'm sitting Tyler Higbee against the Steelers because Stafford doesn't throw to the tight end anymore with Kupp and Nakua and Tutu Atwell, and that running game. Although even though the running game is hurt up now with Kyren, but yeah, they don't throw to Higbee much anymore. So sit Tyler Higbee.
Yeah. I was actually gonna go with Higbee, but I won with him as a sit last week, and I didn't just want to become a broken record. The Kyle Pitts sit of the week has to be renamed because I actually think Kyle Pitts is back to getting the football again. So I'm going to tell you to sit Jonnu Smith. I think it's his numbers are going to start to fade a little bit, and I've seen in every league I'm in, I've seen people picking him up. So I know people are wanting to start him. But I do think, man, Higbee was the guy I was going to go with, but at Logan Thomas, I 100% agree with that. He really came crashing back down to earth after a couple.
Which one of those two are people more likely to start this week, do you think? That's who we sit.
I think
Higbee,
Logan.
then that's who we sit. Oh, you think Logan Thomas?
Yeah, you think people are more likely to start Higbee over Logan Thomas?
I think so, because I think people look at the Rams offense as more potent than the Commanders offense.
Yeah.
They're forgetting that Matthew Stafford's allergic to tight ends like Aaron Rodgers used to be.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
So to review our sits, Kirk Cousins at quarterback, Rachaad White at running back, Michael Pittman at wide receiver, and Higbee at tight end. That brings another thrilling 3 and out to a conclusion. Unless, gentlemen, is there anything else you'd like to add before we say goodnight or good morning?
Don't be afraid to get adventurous this week and go a little crazy. Lots of bye weeks. Every team has them. Go crazy with your lineup. Do something.
Yeah, lots of buys this week.
Do.
Good week to look for some sneaky picks on the waiver wire.
Yep.
Yeah. And hey, the Texans aren't going to lose this week, so I'm happy.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us once again. We'll see you next week on 3 and Out.